Hey guys, Dan here for Dan Does Disney with our special guest Tim. Merlin has decided he only wants to do the biggest of the big, and Tim stepped in and said, I like Disney.
I do like Disney.
So I'm going to do other ones.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about, there's two in this collection here, Saludos Amigos and the Three Caballeros. It's known as the Caballeros Collection. But today we're going to talk about just the first movie, Saludos Amigos. That's the one we're up to in our Dan Does Disney chronology. However, Three Caballeros will be in two movies. It's the next animated one, but we have the Victory Through Air Power to get through, which I'm sure you will not be joining me for.
Maybe.
I'm not even sure. It's probably not even on Disney Plus, but you can get this now on Disney Plus, Saludos Amigos.
That is how I watched it.
And that's how you watched it. And you actually watched a slightly different version than I did.
Oh.
Do you know how? Why?
Why?
Because Goofy apparently smokes a cigarette in a scene in his short, and it was restored for the Blu-ray version and for Disney Plus, but I have the 2008 collection where it was edited out for purposes that the children don't see Goofy smoking.
I don't know if I remember Goofy actually smoking.
Yeah, it's literally apparently like 3 seconds.
Oh.
So,
and
blink, you missed it.
And that is the Disney Plus version?
And that is the Disney Plus version.
Oh.
Yeah, I looked it up. Because I was wondering, because it said it was on the Blu-ray, but I was wondering if Disney Plus would have it. Apparently there's a disclaimer on it as well that says, like, hey, don't smoke, everybody.
I don't remember seeing that either.
So I don't know. But, so yeah, we're going to talk about this. This came next in the Disney chronology. So basically, if you're new to Dan Does Disney, we kind of do an overview, history of the movie, and then we sort of talk about it itself, and then I talk about the DVD or Blu-ray bonus features. I'm not going to do that last part for now because we're going to do that when we talk about the Three Caballeros. However, there's not really that many bonus features anyway. There's two shorts. One of them is the first Donald short ever, which is kind of interesting. And then there's like a half-hour backstage Disney like bonus feature where they give the tour. But the original movie came out in 1943, actually right around this time. It was in February. And in 1942, it actually premiered about 7 months earlier in Rio de Janeiro, which makes sense. And it was released again in 1949 with the first re-release of Dumbo. And then that was it. Theatrically, they never released it again. And then it was sort of in the Disney Vault or whatever until the 90s. So nobody saw this thing for like 50 years. 1995, they released it on Laserdisc only. And then in 2000, finally on VHS and DVD. And then again in 2008, which is the copy I have. And then it just came on Blu-ray about 2 years ago. And then also, I never heard of this, but Walt Disney sort of released the footage, well, I guess the company, because he's been dead, but the company in 2010, I think, yes, released a documentary called Walt and El Guapo, and it was basically the footage of the making of these movies, like the footage they shot down in South America, and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm very interested to see if that's available somewhere. It's not on Disney Plus, but
I didn't really even check Disney Plus because Disney Plus sometimes does have extras. If you watch the movie, there's a section that says extras, but I didn't even check it for this.
Okay. Well, so this was released as like a bonus feature on that entire like DVD. So there is a DVD of that documentary that exists, but I don't know. I don't think it's like available anymore, so I don't know how to find it. But this got 3 Oscar nominations.
Whoa.
Best song for the title cut. The Saludos Amigos song, best score, and then best sound recording, which is now sound mixing.
Okay.
Which all kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And it also makes sense that it was never released that many times because it is only 40-some minutes long.
Yes, this is, I'm glad you said that. This is the shortest of any theatrical full-length movie. Now this would be considered a short. I think anything under, is it 50 minutes? Is considered a short in terms of like the Oscars or whatever. But so this is comprised basically of 4 shorts that are about 8 minutes apiece, which we'll go over more specifically, and then interspersed between each one is like between 2 and 4 minutes of different footage. So there's 2 Donald Duck shorts on here and a a Goofy short. So Lake Titicaca is one of the Donald ones. That's the first one. And then the second part, I thought it was interesting that they weren't allowed to actually film anything at that location. And so everything they had to do, based on memory and based on drawings that they made while they were there. But the other 3 segments all have actual camera footage, which has been restored pretty cool. And so Pedro's the second one. That doesn't feature any of the famous Disney people. El Gaucho Goofy is the Goofy short, of course, and then Donald reappears for the final short, which is Aqua... I'm going to mess this pronunciation up. Aquarela do Brazil? Aquarela.
Yeah,
or Aquarela.
It translates to Watercolors of Brazil.
Watercolors of Brazil. Yeah, so they're all about 8 minutes in length, and then there's nothing after the final short. It just goes right to the end, which I thought was kind of weird. So this was made back in the time when the strike was happening. We talked about the strike, during Dumbo and during Bambi. So the Disney animator strike was in full effect at this point, and Walt decided to sort of say, okay, well, I'm gonna take a trip as a sort of ambassador of this country, go to South America and sort of, tour around and whatever. And it was with the United States, Department of State commissioned it. And basically, this film apparently was like, this huge boon for the South American culture, because I think a lot of people in North America at the time didn't know much about it. They saw these big skyscrapers and were like, oh my God, we thought we were the only country that had this, or maybe Europe, but not in South America. They got to see how South Americans lived. And so the one quote I really liked was from one of the film historians. I don't think he worked specifically for Disney, but he said that the movie did more to cement a community of interest between the peoples of the Americas in just a few months than the State Department has done in 50 years. So I thought that was interesting, because, I guess at the time, it's not like you had National Geographic Channel. You didn't have any of that sort of stuff to look at, which now we sort of take for granted. We can see all different countries all over the place, but back then it was pretty rare. So let's dive in.
I wanted to make a point.
Yeah.
Because I also did some research on it. Like,
okay.
why was this movie actually made?
Sure.
And the point that I really liked was that it was during World War II.
Yep.
And we were now allies with a lot of these South American countries.
Right.
And prior to that, we were in some guerrilla warfare with these countries as well. So Roosevelt commissioned a whole bunch of people to try to bridge the gap and restore relations with them. And Disney was part of that commission.
Well, and part of the issue that he was facing at the time was because of the war, and we've talked about this in Dumbo and stuff, a lot of the foreign markets were cut off to him. That's why Fantasia originally was a big bust, because he couldn't release it in a bunch of countries that he had released Snow White in. And so it also makes sense that he would want to open up those communities to be able to release his films in Brazil and Chile and those places. So it's interesting the reason he did that, and because it was such a success is why we got Three Caballeros a couple years later. So let's talk about the 4 shorts, and we'll kind of break them down, I guess. And usually I have the guest do that part because I do all the talking up front. So let's hear about the first one, the Donald Duck Titicaca.
The first stop was Lake Titicaca. Before the short, they show some footage of the local culture, some live sketching of some stuff. And basically...
the people getting on the plane.
That's how it starts, which I actually read was shot after the whole thing. Because
is that right?
Yeah, because they were originally going to do the 4 shorts as just shorts, and then Walt decided to
have wraparounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so basically a lot of the stuff that they talked about in the documentary footage prior to it, of the culture, the boats, the llamas and stuff like that all got wrapped up into more of an educational short with some funny gags.
Yeah, like 3 or 4 minutes of education before the short even starts.
Donald Duck riding a llama at the end.
Yes. Classic shot.
Yeah. The things I liked about it is... the sketches from earlier that you saw the animators working on were worked into the short itself. The llamas, the people carrying certain things, the people wearing the certain outfits and stuff like that, that all got wrapped up into it. And I thought Donald riding the llama was funny at the end.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, that was probably the best bit. The other bits...
Yeah, this is my least favorite of the 4 shorts.
Probably were a little bit not as great, but I did like Donald riding the llama.
Okay. Yeah, that part was good.
Yeah.
Donald Duck has never been my favorite Disney character.
Okay.
He's just... And I know it's purposely so, I guess, but I find him very hard to understand.
Yes.
I like Donald Duck comics more than I like the shorts and stuff. And did you know, as a very wild aside, he was supposed to be the original star of DuckTales? Okay. And they decided people can't understand him, so we're going to make Scrooge.
Okay.
And but so Donald's never been my favorite from that. But also, it goes from an educational, the stuff that they shot live.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of things happening in the cartoon that they're sort of playing off in a documentary style, but that aren't real. Like when he's playing the instrument and the llama's like going back and forth, and if he plays the tune backwards, the llama walks backwards. But it's presented as if that's real, and I think that might be confusing for children. So I didn't love that part. It was cute, but it was presented the same as they presented the documentary stuff.
This was not my least favorite.
This was not your least favorite short? Okay. Ooh, now I'm curious. All right, well, so then what happened in the second short?
So the second one is the one that you talked about, that they couldn't do any documentary footage of the Andes when they were flying over. They showed some people in the plane, but that's basically it.
So like kind of drawing sketches,
So this one is Pedro, and it involves a mama plane, a daddy plane, and a Pedro, little baby plane. Named Pedro, and he is tasked of flying over the Andes Mountains to Mendoza to pick up the mail and fly back.
Right.
He picks up the mail successfully, and then when he flies back, he goofs off a little bit, does some tricks, gets lost, and then comes face to face with the monstrous Mount... Kanaganga?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Some of these Spanish words are hard.
And then they think he's not going to make it, and then, spoiler alert, Pedro makes it.
He does.
And then he brings back a single postcard.
Now, as a mail carrier... Yeah. Did this really speak to you?
No!
Did this speak to your heart?
This one was my least favorite.
Okay. Okay, tell me why.
Because I feel like the purpose of these short films were to build relations with the Latin American countries.
Okay.
And I do not think that this has a good message behind it. Yes, Pedro does his job and succeeds, but he almost doesn't, because he decides
he's a goofball.
Because he's a goofball and does flips, and then gets distracted by a vulture, and then almost dies because of that. I feel like that. I mean, I guess you could have a lesson behind that of not goofing off.
Yeah,
but it doesn't
take your job seriously.
Take your job seriously, but it doesn't. I don't know. Shed the country's in the best light.
Well, you are not the only one who thought that. Did you delve into this at all?
I did read something about that, but I didn't read that much.
Okay, so what happened was there was a Chilean cartoonist who at the time was known as Pepo, and he did not think Pedro was a very good representation of his culture. So he created this character, Condorito, who became a syndicated newspaper strip that still runs with new strips today. Uh-huh. So the longest lasting worldwide thing in Saludos Amigos is probably the creation of this character that was created because this cartoonist did not like how his country was being portrayed in the movie.
And I feel like this is the oddball out, because most of the other ones have some educational behind it.
Okay, that's fair. I thought this one was certainly the least educational. Yeah. But I thought it was cute, and I think it's pretty clear that Pedro is supposed to be like a little kid.
Yeah.
So I mean, it makes sense that he would be goofing off and being silly, and I think there is a lesson to be learned of, pay attention and do what your parents want you to do, and I don't know, that kind of thing. So I didn't love it, but it's not my least favorite.
Yeah. I think there was just the opportunity to kind of put the life-threatening danger of the mountain and without him having to goof off.
I suppose that's true. They could have done it either way.
They could have diverted his path because of weather or something without him having to do loops and
I
stuff.
guess that's true, yes. But I think they wanted a double meaning of pay attention to your parents when they tell you to do something, I guess. I don't know. And what did you think about the animation, though? It was cute.
It was cute. I actually did think that the monstrous mountain was done very realistically.
Sort of in the Fantasia vein of the Night at Bald Mountain kind of thing.
I feel like out of the first 3 shorts, that was probably the best animation.
Okay.
Just the mountain. The villainous mountain.
That was animation-wise the best part. Yeah. It's funny to me. Did you think at all of Disney's Planes when you watched it? Because I did too. And it's funny because, obviously this is, sort of a throwaway movie from 80 years ago or whatever, but Planes clearly took their animation style from Pedro and his parents.
Well, I mean, I guess, but they also took it from Cars. I mean,
yes, it was like you're right. It was like a hybrid of Cars and. But the planes looked very similar to these planes for sure.
And
so
maybe when they saw
maybe the Cars animation,
the Cars animation was based off this.
Maybe that could be. So all right, so the third one was the Goofy short.
Yes.
And tell us about that.
That
El Gaucho Goofy.
El Gaucho Goofy. So now they are in the Argentinian Pampas, and they do another documentary set up to this, and they're talking about the Argentinian dancing, cooking, music, the gauchos, which are cowboys, and I thought the highlight of this was you saw some really good live sketching.
I'll say.
Yeah, they teased it a little bit in the beginning with the first one, but you basically saw them sketch in live, fast motion of some dancing and stuff like that, and I thought that was really, really cool to see. And so now you have Goofy, who gets magically whisked away from his American cowboy. They start
in Texas with him.
And then they bring him to Argentina.
Then he starts smoking. We all saw that famous scene.
And then they go through kind of like an educational thing of what a gaucho looks like, what he wears, his outfit, how he saddles horses. They say catching ostriches, but it's not actually an ostrich. I think they call it an albatross, but it's not even an albatross.
I don't think it's an albatross either, yeah.
It's a rhea. RHEA.
Okay.
They talk about the music and dancing. I thought, compared to How to Ride a Horse from...
from the Reluctant Dragon.
I thought this was a lot better because How to Ride a Horse got really long. I felt like it was a little bit longer.
I don't necessarily like the Goofy how-to bits, but I do like Goofy as a character.
Yeah. This was kind of how-to, but it wasn't...
Yeah, it was sort of a mix.
Yeah, it was very educational, I felt like. They used a lot of Spanish terms and words and stuff like that. I actually really liked the transitions that they had they incorporated. They had the background pushing from the side at one point. That
was cool.
When the night fell, it basically just dropped down. I thought that was really clever animation transitions. They had a slow motion section. I thought that was funny. But I did think the funniest line was when they were going through the outfit, and then they said, and then we have the poncho. We have the poncho, which basically covers everything else. So this was my second favorite of the shorts.
Yeah, mine as well. I think for kids, it's the most educational. Because I'm not sure if they would be as interested in, the landscapes or necessarily the culture, but I think certainly like Wild West movies were real big back then. So I think they would be interested in like, okay, well, let's take a cowboy from Texas and what would he wear, down south, and the dancing stuff and the Spanish words.
Yeah.
So I think for kids this was the most educational of the four. And probably the most enjoyable just because it's goofy and he's a fun character.
It's probably the funniest of them.
It's definitely the funniest of the four,
because I mean the llama bit was funny, but everything leading up to the llama bit for the battle was kind of lame.
Yeah.
But this one had a little bit gags in each section, and most of them I thought were pretty good.
Yeah, I think this was the most well-rounded of the four. Yeah. But I think we'll learn in a minute why number 4 is both of our favorites as adult people. Yeah. But I think for kids this is probably the peak of the movie.
And they incorporated almost everything that they talked about in the documentary.
They really did.
About the food that they were doing, the dancing, the music, everything was incorporated in that. I thought they used all the information that they got that they really liked.
They really showed how it worked in the real world, not just talking about it.
Yeah, how it influenced them as well. I like that. And then the last stop, you go to Brazil in Rio de Janeiro.
The best one.
And you have, I'm not going to say the pronunciation. It's going to just be Watercolors of Brazil.
Yep.
And this was my favorite. You basically have another Donald Duck, but Donald Duck's not in it that long.
No, and he only shows up like halfway through.
Yeah, and they introduce a new character, Jose. Sometimes they call him Joe as well. Carioca, I think is how you pronounce it. But he's a Brazilian.
So yeah,
he's a Brazilian parrot that they got inspiration from Brazil. Apparently, there's a famous parrot there.
Yeah, I didn't know that he was based on like a real parrot that everyone knew down there at the time. Yeah,
and prior to that, they talk about the city of Rio, the mosaic sidewalks.
Beautiful landscapes.
The mosaic sidewalks show up in the short. They talk about the music samba, which also shows up in the short. And they talk about Carnival, which doesn't really show up in the short.
No.
But I did think that was interesting.
It could have. This short could have been easily like 5 minutes longer and fleshed a couple of those things out because it was so fun to watch.
But just that documentary section of it, I think probably was... what you said really shocked the viewers of.
I guess so. Because
that's where they show the
beautiful architecture,
skyscrapers and stuff like that. And for me, that wasn't that much of a shock because I mean, I also
now it's 2020.
Well, it's 2020, but I also love the Olympics.
And
the Olympics
Rio
were just
a few years ago.
Yeah, the Rio was just so they show all that leading up to the Olympics.
Right, that makes sense.
Which now. So many people could watch the Olympics.
But
at the time...
this must have been fascinating for people.
So, the actual short, it is basically a bunch of watercolors, basically almost like live painting. There's a paintbrush that comes.
So cool.
And it's very cool.
Yeah. Like as they're going down the steps, the paintbrush paints each step.
Yeah. And it begins with a bunch of I underlined the word flow because it just kind of flows magically. Long
before we even see the characters. Yeah. Just the way it segues and they start with the flow, like you said.
Yeah. It's
just beautiful.
Just painting landscapes, the trees and stuff like that. This also has some really good transitions.
Yeah.
There's running paint that turns into flamingo legs. There's they paint a palm tree and it turns into a bird. Yep. There's bananas that turn into toucans. The song also is very catchy.
Yeah, it was great music.
And then they introduce Donald Duck. They draw, and he shows up, and then they introduce Jose Carioca.
And even he forms out of something.
I think they just paint him.
They paint him? Okay.
Yeah, the paintbrush comes and paint him, and they fill in the color. And they have a little bit of a conversation, which... I thought it was interesting that Donald puts out his hand to shake, and Jose just gives him a hug.
Yeah,
I thought
that's true. That's a good point.
I thought that was very nice. They become friends, even though there's a language barrier. And then Jose talks about samba and teaches Donald about samba.
I love that part.
Yeah, he uses his umbrella to make noises. He plays it like a flute. He plays it like a guitar. He uses Donald's hat like a accordion. And then it ends with them having a little drink.
They go to the cafe.
Then you go to the cafe, and that's where you see the mosaic sidewalks that they talked about. And then I actually like the last part too, where like they use shadows to show dancing, and then kind of like the instruments playing. And then it ends with this like it pans or pulls back a little bit, and then you see that it's just like a painting on an art table, which I thought was the perfect end.
That was so cool. Yeah,
perfect end for that segment because it was basically just the art.
Yeah, it was like a painting come to life.
Painting come to life.
Yeah, I mean, I loved. I mean, everything you said. The music is great in this. Yeah. Just the style. It reminded me a lot of some of the stuff Walt was trying to do with Fantasia.
But 100%.
But so much
100% better.
You know, and you probably watched our Fantasia review, and it's like there are segments of Fantasia I liked, but most of them were way too long. Yes. This to me was too short. 8 minutes was not enough for me on this. This could have been 12, 15 minutes, and padded out the time of the whole movie to like 50 minutes. I get that he probably wanted to give equal time to each country and each idea, but because of how inventive this was, I really wanted more of this. Yeah. And I didn't mind Donald Duck. And of course he's friends with everybody without because nobody can understand him. So everybody's got a language barrier with Donald Duck. Yeah. But yeah, I like the introduction of the Jose character, who ended up being a fairly popular side character for a while.
Yeah, he's
in Three Caballeros, of course,
with Donald Duck.
But I don't know if he's in any of the shorts that came after. But I mean, he's still referenced at the rides at Disney. Yeah. So obviously these characters had lasting appeal.
Actually, I guess a cartoon series with the Three Caballeros on Disney Plus.
I have heard of that.
I guess it came out 2 years ago.
Okay, maybe we'll have to watch an episode of that to compare and contrast when we review the movie.
Yeah, probably watch 2 episodes.
Yeah, you're right. I had forgotten about that. I heard about that, but I think the first character I even met when I was there a year ago was Three Caballeros Donald. Okay, he was in Epcot at one of the Spanish cafes or whatever. It was right near the ride that they have or whatever. But yeah, he was in his full garb and so obviously long-lasting stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's really about it. Like I said, I won't really talk about the DVD itself until we do Three Caballeros. But do you want to grade the movie on the whole? Or do you want to look at the shorts?
I mean, I have grades.
Did you grade all the shorts?
I graded all the shorts and my overall as well.
Ooh, okay. I hadn't graded the shorts specifically, but let's see. Well, the last one is certainly an A.
I gave it an A.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's the cream of the crop. I'd say the Goofy one's probably like a B+.
I gave it a B+ as well.
Okay.
We're going
and then obviously we're going to differ a little bit on the other two. I would say the Donald one's probably a B or a B-.
I gave it a B.
You gave it a B? Okay. Yeah. I'm going to give it a B-. I think just because of that stuff where they were trying to be funny but still presenting it as it was facts, which kind of bugged me a little bit. And then I guess I'd give the Pedro one about the same, a B or a B-. I guess a B-. I'll give them both a B-. Okay. But you probably gave that an F.
No, I didn't give it an F. I gave it a C.
Okay. I think the animation was better than that, though, enough to carry it through.
I guess I might give it a C+, but I did feel it was the weakest. I mean, maybe if I watched it a third time, because I watched it. I watched it twice. I watched it twice. Yes. I watched it a couple weeks ago, and then I did watch it this past weekend and took notes this time.
That helps. Taking notes helps.
Yes, it does help. Maybe I'd give it a B-, just because it is so old, but it just bugs me that it didn't represent the country that well.
Well, that guy would agree with you, the cartoonist. He, has made his entire living now off this cartoon. Yeah, definitely the number 2 is Goofy and number 1 is Jose for sure. You could debate, I guess, the first two. I think each one has positives and negatives. Maybe if I liked Donald better, I would like the first one more. I don't know, but I guess on the whole, of course, I always consider the age of these movies, and I think I would give it a B plus based on just the idea that really the average American had never seen, these types of landscapes and what South American people, do with their days and whatever. So I love, as always, Walt trying to incorporate like the real animations and things. I love how he always tried to like show how things worked. I think that's always cool. So I think I'll give it a B plus.
Okay. I gave it a B, but that's probably based off nowadays.
Seeing it now, yeah.
Seeing now. Yeah. I probably at the time would give it a B plus as
well.
Yeah. Because besides that last one, which was
it's phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. It's great.
Like the other animation isn't really anything above where Disney was. It's probably even like a step back from stuff because these are short.
So you had watched Reluctant Dragon.
I watched
after
Reluctant
watching my video of that, and because that's now on Disney Plus in full. Which the time I did the review, I think I wasn't sure if it was going to be, but yeah, like the animation style of that is it wasn't anything that groundbreaking for the most part, except the Baby Weems thing was awesome. But like the Reluctant Dragon short itself, it was cute and fun and everything, but it wasn't like groundbreaking in terms of animation.
Yeah, like all the other like Pinocchio and Bambi.
Right, and even a lot of the Fantasia stuff.
We're going from those type of movies to these shorts, which are now considered part of these feature-length films.
Right.
So like the animation's a step back because they are shorts.
Yeah.
So like the animation isn't anything like Pinocchio or. I mean, I guess Dumbo was... No, Bambi was the one right before this, right?
Bambi,
So the animation of Bambi...
is amazing.
Is amazing.
Yeah.
Except for the fire, I feel like the early fire of Disney is...
Well, that's always the same. Yeah. One of these was released, though, separately as a short in something else.
Before or after?
After.
Okay.
After. They released it like... I read it, now I can't find it. Oh, here we go. It was Pedro, believe it or not. It was released in 1955 as a separate short, which is kind of weird. But when you think about it, I mean, it's cute for kids, I guess. Yeah. I don't know what they would have released it with in 55, but probably one of their like live action westerns or something. But I guess at the time they had so many different Goofy shorts to pick from that they weren't going to release that one. But yeah, so you could have seen it again in theaters in 1955 too. Yeah. Your favorite.
My favorite.
All right, well, that'll wrap it up for Dan Does Disney this time. I'll be back with a solo review of Victory Through Air Power, which I have somewhere in one of my like Disney Vault collection DVDs. I'm sure it's like super horrible. It's like basically just war propaganda, but I'm gonna watch it and see what it's like. But then we will be back with the Three Caballeros, which I guess is where the cover comes from. With all those little characters.
Well, I think the Goofy... I don't know if Goofy's in
there. Oh, you're right. No, I forget. I guess it's not, because these are the Three Caballeros. Yeah. Yeah, Goofy's got his poncho on. We watched the Three Caballeros in Spanish class, so...
Yeah, but that's also shorts as well, so...
Yes,
I know. There might be a Goofy short. I don't know.
That's true, yeah. He could be the gaucho in that, too. Yeah. But, all right. Well, Tim, thank you for joining. This was a lot of fun. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.